How does a nation with limited resources nearly triple its road network in just 2 years? What happens when a young military leader decides to break free from colonial ties and build infrastructure on his own terms? And why is France so concerned about Burkina Faso's sudden surge in road construction? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most remarkable infrastructure transformations happening right now in West Africa that few Western media outlets are talking about. To understand the significance of Burkina Faso's road revolution, we need to first grasp the country's historic context. Burkina Faso, formerly known as Upper Volta, gained independence from France in 1960. But like many post-colonial nations, it inherited severely underdeveloped infrastructure. For decades, the country relied heavily on foreign aid and loans to build even basic infrastructure, often with strings attached that benefited foreign contractors more than local communities. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré came to power in September 2022 through a military coup, few expected infrastructure to top his agenda. At just 34 years old, Traoré became the world's youngest head of state, taking over a country facing severe security challenges from jihadist insurgencies and economic hardships. Traditional wisdom suggested his focus would be primarily on security and political stabilization. However, Traoré surprised both his supporters and critics by immediately identifying infrastructure, particularly roads, as a cornerstone of his national development strategy. In a televised address just weeks after taking power, he famously stated, "A nation cannot defend itself or feed itself without the ability to move freely within its own borders. Roads are not luxury, they are sovereignty." What makes Burkina Faso's approach truly revolutionary is the way these roads are being built. Rather than relying on the traditional model of foreign loans and international contractors, Traoré's government has pioneered what they call the Burkinabè model of infrastructure development. This approach combines domestic financing, local labor, innovative cost-cutting measures, and strategic partnerships with non-Western allies. The results have been nothing short of remarkable. In the first year alone, over 1,200 kilometers of new roads were completed, more than had been built in the previous decade. By the 18-month mark, the total had reached 2,800 kilometers. Now, approaching the 2-year anniversary of the initiative, the country is on track to complete 5,000 kilometers of new roads, nearly tripling the 3,000 kilometers that existed when Traoré took office. These aren't just numbers on paper. The impact on daily life in Burkina Faso has been transformative. Take the eastern town of Fada N'Gourma, which was previously connected to the capital by a treacherous dirt road that became impassable during the rainy season. The journey could take up to 12 hours, and agricultural products often spoiled before reaching markets. With the new paved highway, that same journey now takes just 3 hours year-round, opening new economic opportunities for thousands of farmers. In the northern village of Titao, local resident Fatimata Ouedraogo shared her experience. "Before the new road, our children couldn't attend school in the rainy season. Now they can go every day, and my vegetables reach the market fresh. This road has changed everything for us." Stories like Fatimata's are being repeated across the country as new connections bridge previously isolated communities. The economic impact extends beyond individual stories. The Burkina Faso Chamber of Commerce reports that internal trade has increased by 28% in regions with new road connections. Agricultural waste has decreased by 35%, as farmers can now reliably transport their produce to markets. More surprisingly, local tax revenue in newly connected regions has increased by 17% as economic activity flourishes, creating a virtuous cycle where infrastructure pays for itself through economic growth. But how exactly is Burkina Faso financing this massive undertaking? This is where the story gets particularly interesting and explains why France is watching with such concern. Traditionally, African infrastructure projects rely heavily on loans from Western institutions like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, or bilateral arrangements with former colonial powers. These loans often come with conditions requiring the use of Western contractors and consultants, effectively recycling much of the money back to the lending countries. Traoré's government has taken a radically different approach. First, they've redirected a significant portion of the national budget toward infrastructure, increasing road construction funding by 300%. They've implemented what they call a patriotic contribution, a small tax on mobile money transactions, which are widely used throughout the country. This alone generates an estimated $50 million annually earmarked specifically for road development. The government has also renegotiated mining contracts with foreign companies operating in Burkina Faso, which is Africa's fourth largest gold producer. These new agreements require mining companies to either build roads, connecting their operations to major towns, or contribute to a national infrastructure fund. This policy alone has funded nearly 800 kilometers of new roads. Perhaps most controversially, Burkina Faso has shifted away from traditional Western partners toward new allies. Russia, China, and Turkey have stepped in with technical assistance, equipment, and financing models that come with fewer political conditions than Western alternatives. Russian engineers have been particularly involved in helping design cost-effective road solutions suitable for Burkina Faso's climate and terrain. The cost efficiency achieved has been remarkable. While road construction in West Africa typically costs between $900,000 and $1.2 million per kilometer when built by international contractors, Burkina Faso's new approach has reduced this to approximately $450,000 per kilometer. This has been achieved through innovative techniques, local material sourcing, and developing a largely domestic workforce. Speaking at the inauguration of the Ouagadougou-Koudougou Highway, Traoré explained the philosophy behind this approach. For too long, we've been told we need foreign expertise to build our nation. But when a road costs twice as much because it's built by foreign companies with imported materials and expatriate salaries, who really benefits? We're proving that Africans can build Africa. This sentiment has resonated deeply across the continent. Delegations from Mali, Niger, Chad, and even as far as Zimbabwe have visited Burkina Faso to study this new model of infrastructure development. Some analysts are calling it the Burkinabè revolution in African infrastructure, a template that could potentially transform how development occurs across the continent. France's reaction to these developments has been revealing. Initially dismissive, French officials predicted the initiative would quickly collapse due to financing constraints and technical limitations. As success became undeniable, the tone shifted to concern about outside influence, a thinly veiled reference to Russian and Chinese involvement. In a leaked diplomatic cable published by African Intelligence, a French diplomat warned, "The Burkinabè model represents a concerning paradigm shift that could undermine decades of established development frameworks and reduce Western influence in the region." This candid assessment reveals what many Burkinabés have long suspected, that infrastructure dependency was never just economic, but also political. The French media has focused extensively on the security implications, suggesting the roads might benefit militant groups operating in the region. However, this narrative contradicts security experts who note that improved infrastructure actually enhances the government's ability to respond to security threats and deliver services to vulnerable communities. French construction companies, which previously dominated major infrastructure projects in Francophone West Africa, have seen their contracts in Burkina Faso drop by over 80%. Bouygues Construction, a French multinational that once built most of Burkina Faso's major roads, has completely exited the country. The economic impact on these companies has been significant enough that the issue has been raised in the French parliament. Beyond economic interests, France's concern stems from the potential demonstration effect. If Burkina Faso successfully develops critical infrastructure without Western loans and conditions, it could inspire similar approaches across France's former colonial territories. Already, neighboring Mali and Niger, which have also recently distanced themselves from French influence, are studying the Burkinabè model. The road revolution has not been without challenges. Technical issues have arisen. with some early projects requiring repairs due to inexperience with certain construction techniques. Security concerns remain real, with several construction sites in the north targeted by militant groups opposed to government expansion into their territories. Financing remains tight, requiring careful prioritization of which routes to develop first. Environmental groups have also raised concerns about accelerated construction without thorough environmental impact assessments. The government has responded by incorporating more sustainability measures into newer projects, including water management systems and tree planting along road corridors. Despite these challenges, the progress remains impressive. The new east-west highway, connecting the cities of Fada and Gourma and Bobo Dioulasso, has cut travel time from 2 days to just 7 hours. The northern road to the mining region of Essakane has helped reduce operating costs for the mining industry, while connecting dozens of previously isolated villages to markets and services. Perhaps most significantly, the road construction program has created over 45,000 direct jobs and an estimated 120,000 indirect jobs. For a country with high youth unemployment, this economic stimulus has generated broad popular support for the initiative, even among those otherwise skeptical of military rule. The social impact extends beyond economics. Health officials report that maternal mortality has decreased by 23% in regions newly connected by all-weather roads, as women in labor can now reach medical facilities regardless of season. School enrollment has increased by 18% in communities connected to the new road network, as educational resources can be delivered more consistently, and teachers are more willing to accept postings in areas that aren't isolated. What does this mean for the future of Burkina Faso and African development more broadly? Many development experts are watching closely. Dr. Aminata Touré, former Prime Minister of Senegal and now a development consultant, observes, "What's happening in Burkina Faso challenges our assumptions about how development must occur. It suggests that with the right policies and political will, African countries can accelerate infrastructure development on their own terms." The implications extend beyond Burkina Faso. Across Africa, countries spend an estimated $15 billion annually on infrastructure, while facing an infrastructure financing gap of nearly $100 billion. If the Burkinabè model proves sustainable, it could offer a new pathway to address this massive deficit without increasing dependence on foreign debt. For ordinary Burkinabés, the road revolution is already changing daily life. Markets that were once isolated are now connected to the national economy. Farmers who previously couldn't get their produce to buyers now have reliable access to major towns. Students who once walked hours to school can now take public transportation. Healthcare that was once inaccessible during rainy seasons is now available year-round. Mahamadou Sawadogo, a security analyst based in Ouagadougou, offers this assessment. Roads are more than infrastructure. They're an assertion of sovereignty. When a government can connect its people and secure its territory, it demonstrates legitimate authority in a way that speeches and policies alone cannot. As the 2-year anniversary of this ambitious initiative approaches, the results speak for themselves. With 5,000 new kilometers added to the previous 3,000, Burkina Faso has nearly tripled its road network in record time. Whatever one thinks of Traoré's politics or the circumstances of his rise to power, the road revolution represents a significant achievement that is reshaping both Burkina Faso's physical landscape and its relationship with former colonial powers. While Western media often focuses on political instability and security challenges in the Sahel region, this infrastructure revolution deserves greater attention. It represents a potential shift in how development occurs across Africa, one road, one bridge, one community at a time. Burkina Faso's road revolution offers a powerful case study in what becomes possible when nations prioritize infrastructure development on their own terms. By nearly tripling its road network from 3,000 to 8,000 kilometers in just 2 years, Captain Traoré's government has demonstrated that alternative development models exist, ones that may better serve African interests than traditional approaches dominated by former colonial powers. As we've seen throughout this exploration, roads are never just about transportation. They're about connecting communities, enabling commerce, delivering services, and ultimately, asserting sovereignty. The shock felt in Paris isn't just about lost contracts for French companies. It's about a shifting power dynamic as former colonies chart independent paths forward. What's happening in Burkina Faso may well represent the early stages of a broader paradigm shift in African development, one where local solutions, domestic financing, and strategic partnerships replace dependence on Western institutions and former colonial relationships. Whether this model proves sustainable in the long term remains to be seen, but its initial success challenges many assumptions about what's possible. If you found this analysis of Burkina Faso's infrastructure revolution eye-opening, hit that subscribe button right now to join our community of globally minded viewers, exploring stories of transformation that mainstream media overlooks. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming video. I want to hear your thoughts on this development model. Could other nations replicate Burkina Faso's approach? What are the strengths and weaknesses you see? Share your perspective in the comments below, and let's continue this important conversation. Until next time. Remember, understanding comes before change, and you can't change what you don't understand.